Welcome back, everybody. We are back today with another full autonomous setup. This time we'll be doing the warehouse. The last video was the barn meth lab. Not the most efficient that could be possible. Same thing as with the barn. This is just for a fully autonomous setup, as efficient as I think you can get it to minimize how often you have to come and check in. We are using all 10 employees. We've got ourselves 3 separate botanists here. 2 are focused on the first 8 planters on either side. The third one is doing the last 2 planters and 6 drying racks here. Now this is all coca. So once all of these finish growing, we have them move directly to these racks where they'll be drying for a couple of days. Once they're done on the drying, they go directly into our cauldrons where our first chemist comes into play. He'll be cooking in both sides. Once those are done, he moves them on over to these ovens here, and then from these ovens they'll be moved over to the mixers where the other 2 chemists we have come into play. I have this broken down into 2 recipes of 4 different mixes. You can combine this together to make a mix of 8 if you would like. It would sell for a larger profit, but you would be making half as much product, so it's up to you. If you're less focused on experience gain and mostly just on money, I would suggest doing exactly that. Put these together, you can make one Coke mix of 8 different ingredients. I'm pretty sure the last time I had found a recipe online for that, you could sell them for like $700 or something per unit. And with that, you could max that out at $9.99 pretty easily. Customers will pay well over $1,000 for it. Again, though, that would be half the product level, so for this setup, this is focused on a mix. You'll make fairly decent money, but you'll also get quite a bit of experience from doing it. You'll have more opportunity to sell individual baggies yourself if you would like, or the brick production will be high enough to supply all of your separate suppliers. So this recipe here I just made up. There is lists online. You can probably find one with 4 that might even be more profitable than this. This was just a few test runs. I just came out with this real quick. Sells for like $300 or so, with the additional bonus that you can charge on top of that, which I think is like 160% of regular price. Look at this guy freaking out over here. But anyways, you can bring this up to about $500 per unit, which is more than enough. Now our handlers take up the rest of the spaces. So we have a total of 3 botanists, 3 chemists, and then 4 handlers. The reason we have so many handlers is just because the automation in this is pretty easy to set up as far as these things are concerned. However, with how many resources you have to use for the mixing stations, if you only set 1 storage rack each, it'll only take 2 technically in order to fit all 8 of the mixing stations, handlers to restock them all, right? The downside is these racks will only last like a day. So you'd have to come back down here every single day and then restock the racks, or your production will stop at the mixing stations, which then backs the flow up through everything else. So in order to prevent us having to check here regularly, we went with 4 separate storage racks. And those 4 handlers we have, the first one restocks the stations themselves, and then a second one, a couple of extra stations to max them out, because you can only have 5. So we have 8 over there. One handler takes care of 5 mixers, the other takes care of 3, and then starts on these shelves back here. Now the other 2 mixer handlers we end up taking and using them to move supplies from one of these other shelves back to the first one. That just means that until all 4 of these shelves are drained, we do not have to worry about purchasing more supplies. So with this setup here, I would assume 5 or 6 days maximum, more likely around 4 to 5, before we have to come back to check any of these shelves for restocking. During that time frame, with the production level going steady, we may be able to produce a full stack of coca bricks in that time period. Pretty close to that. I would say between a dozen and 20 different bricks. So that means that during that time period, if you don't want to have to come back down here and keep checking on guys, you can go out and hit the casino, or like when he adds in the fishing, you can go fishing and other things like that. Swing down every 2 or 3 days. You can pick up your final product, restock whatever shelves need to be done, and then head back, going about your day, doing whatever you wish. One more note. I have 2 shelves set up here. Right now we're running a little bit low because I was doing some testing yesterday, but I had half the shelf here with coca seeds and then the other half with the fertilizer. Same thing on this shelf, and then 1 handler to move things from this shelf back to here. Now all of our botanists gather both their soil and their coca seeds from this shelf to restock their planters. Once this gets low, a handler will come over just like that, and she'll move products back onto this shelf. That just maintains a consistent flow, so even if we don't come back for 3 days, we don't show up to find out that all of our potters here are out of soil and they're not growing anymore. So again, this is not as efficient as possible. You can certainly get rid of most of these other stations and focus on just planters. You don't even need the drying racks. You could use a bunch of fertilizer. But keep in mind, with fertilizer, you're going to require more storage space and thus another handler to move that, or you'll have to be back more often to restock it. With this setup, 4, 5, possibly 6 days in between having to worry about any loads, and the entire time they'll be producing while you're gone. Very efficient, great for fully autonomous. Keep an eye open. We will be updating another video within the next couple of days that will showcase the bungalow layout for just pot grow. That one's going to be more simplistic. You can only have 5 employees at a time, but I'm trying to set it up the same way as this, where we can leave for 3, 4, 5 days, come back and gather whatever's there. We'll be doing a simple 4 chemistry mix again, so we can only stick with just 1 chemist on site. So we'll probably end up with just a few botanists and that. But I'll be posting that within the next few days. If you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Keep an eye open, and until next time, I will see you later.